Ever feel pressured to chase every dollar, add every bell and whistle, and still wonder if your offer actually just fits you? Well, today we're talking about building the right program, one that serves your students, of course, and actually works for your life. You're listening to the Online Course Show, where we bring you the insights and strategies to build a thriving online course business. I'm Jacques Hopkins, and over the past 12 years, I built a successful online course business teaching piano that's brought in over $4 million, and I'm here to share the lessons I've learned along the way. All right, my guest today is Mike Pacchione, and what I love most about Mike's story is just how intentionally simple and aligned his business is. He's got a clear main offer, a very simple next level offer, and just zero interest in maximizing complexity. Mike designed his program first and foremost around what would work best for him, and then, of course, the results of his students. So ultimately, his program may not look anything like the type of program that you'd want to create and run, but the lesson is that you don't have to do things a certain way just because you see other examples and think that's the only way. So Mike is a speech coach. He's actually personally coached big names like Amy Porterfield, Pat Flynn, Donald Miller, and plenty of others. And today, he helps entrepreneurs craft their signature talk through his program called Speech Club. And I love Mike's take on structuring his program, pricing it, selling it, and so much more. And so let's go ahead and get into it. Hey, Mike, welcome to the Online Course Show.
Hey, Jacques. Happy to be here, my friend.
What would you say is the top way that you are helping people today? Is it through Speech Club or is it something else?
Yeah, it's like 50-50. I help people one-on-one, and that's usually someone who's developing a signature talk that goes with either some seminal event in their life or a book is coming out, some sort of thought leadership. So I help people one-on-one, and then Speech Club is my group coach program. It is the most, well, let me put it this way. It's like my wife, there was a time where I was doing like multiple sessions in a row. So it was just a really, really long day. And she was always amazed by how much energy I had at the end. And that's because really good people take my course, and it's fun for me. I have a teaching background, so my nature is to share my wisdom and what I've learned with other people. So I guess that's why it feels not like work to me. But yeah, to actually answer your question, it's about 50-50 group versus one-on-one.
Tell me more about Speech Club. I mean, you say one-on-one coaching, that's fairly straightforward. We can dive into it a little bit, but tell me about the program. I mean, you did refer to it as a coaching program, group coaching program. You also mentioned it as a course. Like, what is it?
Yeah, it's kind of both. So the first time that I did it as a straight me teaching on the call. I wanted to be a college professor. My story is I wanted to be a college professor. I went to grad school for it, moved all the way across the country. I grew up in Philadelphia, moved all the way across the country to Portland, Oregon. 10 minutes into my first class, realized I'd made a huge mistake. But for reasons that would be a different interview. But like, the long and the short of it is the teaching is what comes naturally to me. Both my parents were teachers. So during COVID, Zoom worked. I felt like I should set up a group coaching program. And it was super fun. And the people in that group were really awesome. And I remember getting to the last week, which again, I have it structured like a college course, basically. The last week is your final exam. And I remember getting ready to log on to the Zoom and realizing I have no idea if anybody's done anything good. Like, it's fun teaching. I have no idea what anybody's work looked like. And that first group did an amazing job. Shout out to everybody who was in that group. But I felt like I dodged a bit of a bullet because I didn't know, like I had not been giving them any feedback on what they were talking about, right? So I realized I had to go back to the drawing board. And what I've created is it's a hybrid. It's partially course. So you watch a video every week, like a video lesson every week. You have homework. You come to quote unquote class on Wednesdays. It's on Wednesdays right now. You come to class on Wednesdays, you get feedback on your homework. So the idea here is that your first draft is, sometimes magic happens, but your first draft is seldom what should be on the stage. And you're going to do the best when you get feedback from other people. And so the course part is the videos. And I always have not just myself teaching, but I have sample speeches that demonstrate the concept. So like I have a week on different ways of structuring a talk, because most people just kind of default to, hey, I'm going to tell you about piano, and they just like throw everything they know about piano into a talk. And maybe that'll work, but more likely there was a better way of structuring it. So, like, as an example, that's one of the week's lessons, and I will have different speeches that demonstrate the different ways of organizing a talk. So it's a course, it's a class. It's, in my opinion, it's the best way to learn how to create an amazing talk.
But if I wanted to buy just the course, that's not an option.
Well, it should be an option, Jacques. I know that, but no, it's not an option.
Well,
yet.
I mean, I'm not necessarily saying it should be, because every niche is different. Why isn't it? And why did you say it that way? Why that it should be?
Oh, just because everybody tells me that I should have a course. I should have a course. I should.
You do have a course. It's just inside of your coaching program, right?
Yes, that's true. Yeah, that's exactly right. I think I don't offer it as a course. Honestly, mostly because I think what makes the biggest difference for people is feedback. Like me giving you the knowledge is wonderful and awesome, and then also a lot of times your first attempt at implementing it is a little off. Now, you're right; it should still be a course. That would still be better than what most people have as their starting point. But I do feel like feedback is one of the secret weapons.
Yeah. Look, I agree with you. I have two businesses. The first one, Piano in 21 Days, is a course, right? After the sale happens, there's very little for me and my team to do. And that works. That works really well. But for my other business, it's more set up like you are, where somebody signs up for my program on starting growing online course business. There's a course that they take, but there's also a team of coaches. We give feedback. We answer questions. And what I've found, because I used to sell like a course on courses, and people were like rarely successful. So I turned it into more of a coaching program that sounds a lot structured like yours, because that produced better results for people. It just, in this niche, it seemed necessary, kind of like yours, that not only did they need the information and then they go and implement the information, but then they need feedback on their implementation, right? And it sounds like that's what you
That's
discovered as well.
100%. Yeah. So it's like, if I were determining my success based on results, it would be hard for me to have a scenario where I was like, okay, just watch these videos, you'll be good. I just feel like the feedback, like the learning it is the first step, and then the feedback is what really makes you take off. So eventually it will be offered as a course, and it'll be, a lower price point. But I think for people who are really trying to make a dent, and particularly for people who have like some experience with speaking, and maybe they've, gotten off a stage and they thought, well, that went okay, or gosh, I didn't even get to the part I wanted to talk about, like feelings like that. The feedback is what helps you figure out, like, yeah, because you're talking too long in this part, or that story you're making 3 minutes and should be one. Like that's the stuff that really makes it go.
What specifically are you helping people with? Is it mainly the content, or are you helping people with like nerves and even like finding gigs, or is it mainly the content?
Yeah, so we have bonus lessons for the business of speaking. And then there's usually some other like speaker that we have that comes in too. But when I first started, so there are three elements to speaking, right? So there's the actual, like, the way that you phrase things. So the content, there are the visuals, and then there's the delivery. And when I first started it, I tried to teach all three. And what would happen to almost every single person is, by the time we got to delivery, you didn't really care about it. Even though you might have started thinking like, oh, I get really nervous on the stage, you didn't really care about the delivery part because you were so worried about the slides and the content. So what I do now, eventually delivery will be a separate course that I offer. But what I do now is I at least give you like the advanced things with delivery that most people don't know because it doesn't get talked about. It's things like pausing's good. How long should you pause for? Right? Like, so I go into those things so that you are aware of them, and I show you what you should do to prepare from a delivery perspective. But I no longer like force people to get live coaching, because most people just don't get there, because what they really want out of it is, by the end of 12 weeks, here's my signature talk. Like, it's written, we've got slides for it. So long way to answer your question. I go into stuff about delivery, and we have an entire week devoted to the psychology of it. But most of what people are walking out with, and I think people who have taken it before, like everybody would rave about the stuff that's content and visuals.
Got it. All right. So let's talk more about how the program works, how you set it up. Can people join anytime? Is it cohort based? How does that work?
Yeah, no, you can't join anytime. I do a few things that I think any business coach would tell me you're making less money because you're doing it this way. But I don't know. I think I'm a little like you, like we're playing the long game
Yeah.
here, right? So I run it 4 times a year. It's 8 to 10 people. Wait, now I'm forgetting what the question was.
Yeah, just how it's. I mean, you're starting to answer it. You're stopping halfway through, but you're right on the right track. I'm just curious how it works because, like, I was browsing around your website. It looked like I maybe could sign up, but does that just put me on a wait list?
Yeah, it just puts you on wait list.
Okay. So
Yeah.
once a quarter, you it starts and it's cohorts.
Yeah. Starting over. All right. So
No. This is going in there. This is real and raw, man. We're all good. You're all good. I mean, except for the Phillies jersey, we're good.
So, listen. When you're on a stage, this is like one of the things I teach people. When you're on a stage and you mess up, like it's fine. Like people actually respect it. And most of the time, all you need to do is just to like fess up to it in a small way, not overly apologetic, but in a small way. And you just say like, I feel like I rambled a little bit there, but the point is blank. So that's what this is. John.
Good advice. I love that.
Yeah.
Man, I was right before this, I was interviewed on another podcast. Man, I was rambling. I'm glad you used that word. I was just rambling. And I kind of used that. I was like, all right, I'm going to stop rambling now and get back to the question.
Yeah.
All right, so the question is.
People respect it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. I only halfway know what I'm doing. Your program, right? So you're in the middle of a cohort right now, right? And then one's going to start?
Yeah. So we have another one starting in January. It's 8 to 10 people. You have to talk to me first. I do not let random people in. Sometimes I think that sounds intimidating, but all I'm really doing is making sure that you have a topic and you are actually, as best you can assess it right now, that you are going to continue. Like you'll show up most weeks. Most people don't make it every week, but you're going to show up most weeks. I want to make sure that you are the type of person that's good for the class. So that's someone who is not going to sell their soul for their topic. It's someone who is going to be good in a group, who's going to get good feedback. It's someone who most likely speaking will help their business, but it's not the entirety of their business. I do have sometimes there are people who are trying to become full-time speakers who take it, but usually it's someone who's using speaking as something that will help their business, or alternatively, it's someone who just knows that speaking matters. One of my favorite success stories, Robin Laird. She's in science, like biochem. And she didn't have a speech coming up or anything, but she just kind of looked at things and said, most science-minded people are bad at communicating, and I think it's going to really matter for me someday. So I just have a hunch I should do this. And it was amazing. She was such a good student. She didn't even have a real speech to work on, but she just kept doing the homework. And like the amazing side effect of that was it helped her YouTube channel, which I don't even do YouTube. But she was like, yeah, it helped my storytelling so much. And then Robin winds up being asked to give a TEDx speech, and now other people are asking her to speak. So like that stuff happens. But actually, Robin's a great example of this. So she finishes Speech Club, I think 2022. A year later, she's asked to give a TEDx, and I got the band back together. I was like, hey, we're having a reunion show. Everybody who was in your cohort. So we all show up for Robin. We all give her feedback. And what's really cool for me is by the end of our 12 weeks together, other people are giving great feedback too. Like it's not just me. So for Robin's TEDx talk, I forget what the soundbite is, but there's a soundbite in there that she didn't come up with. I didn't come up with. It was someone else in the group who gave that to her. And like, that's the type of cohort learning that I just think is so awesome. And I've had so many people who've gone through Speech Club and have said that. I have another woman, Carol Peterson. She lives in Nashville. She runs an organization called Uprise Nashville. And she talked about it. She's like, I came in and I thought it was pretty good. And there was one week in particular that she delivered a part of her talk that she was like, she didn't say it this way, but the way she described it to me, I think in her brain, she thought it was going to be like everybody was going to say, wow, Carol nailed it. And what really happened is we're like, yeah, this part's a little unclear. Yeah, that takes too long. You should say this here instead of there. And that feedback's not always easy. I mean, we're nice when we give feedback, but I'm just saying it's not always easy when you thought you nailed it. But like the end result for Carol, she runs a nonprofit and she got 500,000 in donations on their event night. And that was like twice as much as they've ever had. So, man, like the cohort learning, I just think is so awesome. I love seeing people in the group who wind up being like lifelong internet friends. And I'm sure you've experienced a bit of that yourself. But yeah, I love the cohort model. I love starting it as a course so that people have all the time that they need to listen to the lessons, watch where it shows up in like famous speeches, and just have time to digest things before they come to class. And the feedback is where the magic really happens.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing those success stories. Let's walk through the customer journey a little bit. They start by, do they apply to the program? Is that how it starts?
Yeah, they just fill out a form on my website or send me an email and say, I'm interested in it. And we have a call. Call's about a half hour. I mostly want to know, like, what are you looking to get out of this? There's some evaluation of just, is this a likable person? But for the most part, it's like, is this the right time for you to do it? And when it is, I'll tell you. And when it's not, I'll tell you that too. But yeah, it just starts with setting up a call with me. And yeah, we run it from there.
So right now we're recording this in October. You said the next one's going to happen start in January 2026. Have you already filled up some seats for that? Like, how does the life cycle work?
Yeah, we've got 2 people in that already. Those are people who wanted to do previous iterations and just the scheduling didn't work. And we'll wind up, I would guess 8 to 10. January is usually a little bit slower, but I would guess we'll wind up 8 to 10 for that group.
And you cap it at 10 people. Why?
Yeah.
Why there?
Well, I mean, the number's a little bit arbitrary, but the long and the short of it is, like, it works the best when people know each other and you know each other's topics. So, like, as an example, we go into breakout rooms every week. If every week you had like a new person, it's just like, wait, what are you talking about again? Oh, okay. And where do you live? Like it works better when it's friendlier and you know people and it's communal. So yeah, could it be 11? Maybe. But I found 8 to 10 is a good spot.
How are you promoting the opportunity each time? Are you on social media? You mentioned not being on YouTube. Like, how do people hear about it?
Yeah, I don't know.
No.
I think there's a certain, well, I mean, a real answer is it's some combination of referral, luck, and I'll send out like 2 emails to my list probably. Usually by the time I'm recruiting, I'll have like 4 or 5 people who are already committed to it. So when I'm quote unquote recruiting, it's just filling the rest of them, the rest of the group.
Is there anything you don't like about the offer? Like, you're like, I probably should change this, for whether it's for your client's benefit or for your benefit, or is it, in your opinion, just like perfect the way it is?
It's not perfect the way it is. I think I should make it easier for people to sign up, but I haven't figured out how to do it in a way where I know that they're ready. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like, a business coach would be like, Mike, this is ridiculous to spend a half hour with everybody who's interested. But I also just like, I want to know that everybody's ready and they really want to do it. So I don't know. What should I do? You tell me. Like, how do I?
If the thing is, like, that's one exercise I like to do with my clients sometimes is like, get out a fresh Google sheet, and as far as your deliverables go, like, make a section that says, what do you like about your deliverables, and a section that says, what do you not like about your deliverables. And it's good to do like once a quarter, just to kind of to remind yourself And I'm not saying to just eliminate the things you don't like, because that might be like, if you eliminate the calls, then maybe you don't get any more clients, right? So that's not necessarily a good idea. But that's a good exercise to run through, to just have that thought experiment about what it could be like or what some alternatives would be, because we want to get more and more into a place where we're pretty much liking all the work that we're doing, right? So as far as the calls go, what I'm saying is, if you enjoy the calls and that's an integral part of the whole thing, then don't get rid of them. But for me, I know I wouldn't want to be doing 10, 10 to 15 maybe sales calls every quarter. I mean, that's not that many. But what I do, because like I said, we have similar programs, is you have to apply and we ask a lot of questions. I'm actually on your form right now, and you're asking for name, email, inquiry type, desired date, how did you hear about me, and tell us more. What do you want help with? So it's a little broad, right? I ask of a bunch.
Wait, hold on. That's the Speech Club one?
Maybe not. I'm on bestspeech.co/ yeah. So I went to Speech Club. I'm on the Speech Club sales page, and then I
Oh, I did
clicked
too.
on sign me up. Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, well, I'm glad we had this talk because I need to fix that.
Um, okay. Well, I have a more detailed application with more specific questions that really helps me to understand the person. And the other thing I do is require an application fee. And
Oh,
that
interesting.
really tells me if somebody's serious about it or not. And look, if it's not a fit on either side, like they get that refunded. Like if we don't move forward, obviously, that gets refunded. But I've found that that's been a big help, is for a program like this, is asking a lot of questions and then having an application fee. And then typically we'll just kind of go back and forth over Loom through asynchronous communication. On a rare exception, we'll jump on a call when it's necessary, because like you, fit is really important for me, and knowing I can help them, right? I don't want just anybody joining. That's not the point, and making sure they're going to be a good fit with the other people. But usually we can handle it with asynchronous communication.
Interesting. Hold on. Is the application fee like $45? Is it 1,000? Like how much
$4.99.
is that? $4.99.
It's
Okay.
one.
That's a good number.
It's basically a 12th of the program's cost.
Yeah, right. Okay. Interesting. How often has like going back and forth over Loom? I mean, do you ever run into people who are like, "What's Loom?
Well, so
How does
they
this
don't
work?"
necessarily have to get back to me over Loom, right? Right, they can get back to me anyway, and most time they're replying just through an email. But Loom is my preferred form of communication. I would much rather just talk into the camera than I would type out an email. That's just my preference.
Yeah.
And the people on the other end typically appreciate the like more personal approach. They know without a doubt they are communicating with me and not some assistant typing up an email. They know it's me. Typically, people find me through my podcast and listen to countless hours of me talking already, so they feel like they know me. And now they're getting a chance to actually talk to me, even though it's not like synchronous; it's asynchronous communication. It's just I've done it this way for years. It works well.
So I thought about the application before, and I think where I get stuck is I wouldn't fill out an application. So it's hard for me to ask other people to do that.
Why not?
Uh, I don't like forums. I don't like I think so. I have ADHD, which I don't know, like may or may not affect my answer, but I don't like forums. Um, I think a forum is a very easy thing to just like have as a tab that's open at the top of the screen forever, and then you don't get to the end of it. Um, I think in the back of my brain, I'm always wondering like, how good does this answer have to be? You know, like okay, so let me just pilot this right now. If I were doing this, like, what are some things I would want to know? What's the topic of the speech, right? So that's like an obvious one. Um, what speaking background do you have? What goals do you have? I feel like most people are gonna. I mean, maybe this is just I need to ask better questions of that, but I feel like most people are going to give me the same answer. Like the topic will change, but most people is like to give a killer talk. So on a call, I'm always like, okay, well, what does that look like?
Are you actively looking for ways to not have to do the phone calls?
No. Well, I
Because
don't
if you're
know. I
not,
don't
then
know,
it doesn't
Like,
matter. If you enjoy them, then it doesn't matter. That's just personal preference.
so here's the deal. I like doing the phone calls. I like when people enter the class and I already know something about them. So our first week, we always have an orientation week. So there's like no homework or anything. It's just show up. It's the equivalent of a happy hour, right? And I get to say, like, this is Jacques. He has like a really interesting story about piano or like whatever. And I'm able to kind of ease people into the group that way. I like being able to do that. I don't like how much time it takes to do it. And
Can do that too.
that's
I
why
know
we're having this
somebody pretty well when they join my program, even though I haven't had a synchronous call with them. Something to think about.
because of the, yeah. All right.
No, not just it's the application, but then the subsequent conversation as well, right? Because I'll almost always have follow-up questions. There's a section in my application for questions from them to me. So I'm answering their questions. I'm asking them questions that came up as I went through their application. We're having a conversation, really trying to make sure it's a fit on both sides before they sign up. If it's not, refund the application fee, move on. Sometimes I'll even give recommendations on what would be a better fit. If it is, they sign up and I know them pretty well. Maybe not quite as well as if we would have had a call. And like I said, every once in a while, it's like, this would just be so much easier on a call, and we do a call, but it's the exception and not the rule.
Got it. That's interesting. All right. I'll put it in the box.
Yeah. Look, and to be clear to the audience, like a phone call or this asynchronous communication is not a requirement to sign up for any digital program, right? With Piano in 21 Days, people just sign up, right? There's no applications, there's no big barriers. People just sign up, and that's the way that works. But what we're really talking about here is a coaching program. We're talking about a higher ticket coaching program, which typically is not a good idea to just like have a sign up form at this price point, at this type of program. Like you said, Mike, I mean, you want to make sure it's somebody you want to be working with for the next 12 weeks. I'm the same. My program's a year long, right? I want to make sure it's somebody I want to work with over the next year. I feel confident I can get them results, and I want to be hanging out with them here and there. And so it just requires a little bit more for a program like this.
Yeah.
What tech are you using to deliver your program?
Yeah. So we do sessions over Zoom. I record using CleanShot, which is like I record using CleanShot and then put it into Loom. CleanShot is very similar to Loom. What I like about it is I can move like the little circle around the screen more easily. I can make that get bigger and smaller and things like that. Then I upload it to Loom. So our lessons are on Loom every week. Sorry, our lessons are converted into a Loom that I host on Circle. So Circle has week 1, week 2, week 3, et cetera, et cetera. So it's all hosted on Circle. When you're on Circle, you will have Looms to watch. You will have YouTube links to speeches, and the homework will be listed there too. And that's it.
There's some pretty big names on your website that you've helped. I mean, the ones I recognize would be Pat Flynn, Donald Miller, James Clear, I think Amy Porterfield. Like, did those people go through Speech Club? Were they one-on-one clients? How did you help them?
No, those are all one-on-one clients. Those are all people. Those are people that I helped because they had some sort of thought leadership coming out. With James, it was Atomic Habits. When that book was coming out, we worked on the keynote together. With Don, it actually predated the Story Brand book, but when he was basically going on a speaking tour to talk about the stuff that became the Story Brand book. So that's one of my favorite success stories because Don was already a great speaker.
Yeah.
And I helped him just make it more clear and streamlined and into something that'd be nice and concise. And that was, I forget what year that was, but it was like 8 years ago.
Yeah, Story Brand came out a long time ago.
They still use like a variation of that keynote. Like it was that dialed in. But yeah, those are all people who had some sort of thought leadership coming out, and they knew they were going to be speaking repeatedly on it. So they found Mike Pacchione.
Yeah. Man, I've got 2 ways I want to go. I'm trying to decide which way I want to go. So at the beginning, when I first asked you about how you help people, you mentioned like Speech Club is about 50%, then one-on-one's the other 50%. which one is a better fit for which type of person? Like how do you or someone else decide which one is going to be better for them?
Yeah, one-on-one, I try to push people away from, frankly. That's a fit for someone who knows this is either the most important speech of their life. They are main stage TED or at the UN, or they had a book come out and they know they're going to be speaking repeatedly. That is a one-on-one client. For most other people, Speech Club is the right spot for you. One of the things that I kept encountering was people who are a little bit in between, so like they actually, the best case scenario for them is some level of one-on-one attention. They don't need to pay $20,000 or $30,000 to help me with a keynote like that price point. They can pay it if they want, but like in my own brain, I'm like, I don't feel like that's the right fit for you. So what I did start doing is offering a secret. This is like double animal style, like off menu item.
Man,
Which
don't brag that we don't have In-N-Out where I live. I know they're in California. I assume they're in Oregon.
they're a little bit in Oregon. It's mostly when I go to California, but I did start offering a VIP tier for Speech Club where you get a little more personal attention from me. So you get a personalized delivery critique, a personalized slide critique, and you get extra one-on-one sessions from me. And I think that is making up the gap that a lot of people felt where Speech Club is really good. Like I am 1,000% confident in Speech Club, but when you're on the other end of it and you're just kind of like talking to a guy for a half hour and you like read his website or like your friend took the course, it's harder to feel. For some people, it's harder to feel 100% confident. Like this is fitting the need, and adding that second tier of Speech Club has been really helpful.
Hey, Jacques, and real quick, I want to tell you about my coaching program, Genesis Courses. It's my step-by-step program for aspiring and early-stage course creators. If you're ready to design the right program for you and your students, that's exactly what we do inside of Genesis. We'll help you to nail your niche, design your program, and launch with proven systems. Join us at oc.show/Genesis. Again, that's oc.show/Genesis. Now back to the conversation with Mike. I believe I saw on the website the price is around $5,000. So you're saying there's a tier that's higher than that?
There's a $7,500 tier too.
Okay, and they get a little bit more of you. Do you have people go through the 12-week program? They've paid the $5,000, the $7,500, and like they want to keep learning from you? Like, do they just do the program again?
Oh, yes. I'm glad you brought this up. This kept happening. People loved it. We get to the end. They're like, Mike, what can we do now? And I'm like, I don't know.
Do it again.
Here's my cell number. Let me know if you're in Bend. When did I do this? March or April, so I always had these dreams in the back of my brain of having a next level mastermind. And I wanted to strip away any lessons that they would still have. So like, I wanted to strip away the feeling like, okay, you can keep going with me, but you have homework every single week for the rest of your life. And what I wanted to create was like an elite level Toastmasters. And you had to be someone who went through Speech Club before, so that people aren't going to remember everything, of course, but like, so that there was at least some consistent language and people knew what the general goals of a speech should be. And man, Jacques, that was in the back of my brain for at least a year, probably closer to 2. But I always felt the pressure to like have this beautiful sales page or at minimum, like a wonderful slide deck. And finally, I just decided to make an ugly Google Doc. Like we're talking open up Google Docs and just typing. Like it looks like a Microsoft Word document. It's a page and a half. And this describes my next level mastermind called the Unforgettables. I didn't know how it would go. So I started with some of the people who had in the past, said they wanted a next level thing. But like, I don't know, people always say that at the end of something, right? And the more time passes, the less likely something is to work. But I offered it to, I think, 14 people, 11 said yes. And that was just full.
What price?
So the price on that was $3,000. And the reason why I made it a lower price point is because I knew that the first session, so we're 4 months into the first group. So it's 3,000 for 6 months. I knew that for the first group, there was a certain amount of like, oh, I didn't think about that. And the deal that I made with everybody, and I even had on the Google sheet or the Google Doc, I even had a headline that was like, why doesn't this cost more? And I said, because the deal I'm making with you is you have to let me know like where I'm falling short, because it should be $1,000 a month program. And that's what it will be. But I've figured out some of the kinks with it. But like, even with that, I mean, it's awesome. So all that is, this is like the technology question, right? So for that, here's what we do. Started as an ugly Google Doc. And I call it that. I'm like, here's the ugly Google Doc, right? So it starts as that. Let me know if you're in. So people are in. We meet every 2 weeks on Zoom. It's 75 minutes long. About half of that 75 minutes is you in a breakout room with someone else. And what you're really doing is you're like running through some of your material. So, hey, here's an intro. Can you tell me if this works? Like, what am I not seeing here, right? And then we just have a WhatsApp group for in between. I like Circle. There's some really good things about it. I also feel like it's not in everybody's workflow. So I kind of need it for Speech Club. I wanted to experiment in the Unforgettables, in the mastermind, whether it could live somewhere that was more in workflow. So if it was like, well, what would that be? Like, it could be Slack. But I just decided WhatsApp, and like, honestly, it's been great. People chat on WhatsApp. People text on WhatsApp. People will like put a slide up there and just be like, what's wrong with this slide? And it's been awesome.
Like, I'm blown away by this. This is amazing. Okay. Seriously. One of my favorite marketing gurus, Sam Ovens, there's a quote I've heard him say, if you can't sell something with a Google Doc and a Loom video, then you can't sell something. And that's exactly what you did, basically. Now, not to say that a polished website, web page, sales page with a polished sales video might not sell it a little better, but if you can't sell it with just that, then it may not be worth pursuing. So instead of waiting for perfection to happen, you just cranked it up and you put it out there. And then you did the same thing with the fulfillment of it by creating the WhatsApp and just keeping it simple. And I love every part of that. Oh, and also the pricing. Like, hey, I'm going to be transparent with you guys. This is a $6,000 program, but this is the first time I'm doing it. It's going to be half the price. And in exchange for that, you got to tell me where this is falling short and how I can make it better. I love every part of that. That's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel really, really good about that. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. So that's called the Unforgettables. Cool name. What about jumping back to the main program, Speech Club, or even the Unforgettables? I wanted to ask you about guarantees. Do you have any guarantees related to money back or extra support if they don't achieve anything? Have you found that that would have been necessary for any reason? Or are you confident in not having a guarantee?
Here's the problem. I would love to offer a guarantee, but I don't know what it would be. I don't know how to measure that. Like, what's your metric? Just not being satisfied? Like, what is that? What does that look like? So that's why I haven't offered it. I mean, in the back of my brain, or the middle of my brain, really, I'm like, yeah, if someone's just not working, I've never had this happen, but if someone's just not working, then I will happily have a conversation and just say, hey, I think this isn't the right time. Here's your money back. I have had people who have like had to postpone, I mean, like family problems and things like that. But no, I've never offered a guarantee.
Let's talk about
How do you offer a guarantee for something that doesn't have, you know what I mean? Like a business coach, it makes sense. Like, you will earn this amount of money back, but I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I don't know exactly how it would work. I've done 3-month programs in the past where there was no guarantee. That was just fine, but it was a lot of. It's hard to offer some sort of money back guarantee when you're spending a lot of time with somebody because you still spent that time. I do have some guarantees with my year-long program, but that's more because a year is a long time to commit to something. So basically, we have like a 90-day exit clause to where they can leave after 3 months, but they're not necessarily getting a refund. So it does get complicated with something like this. With Piano in 21 days, very straightforward. 30-day money back guarantee, right?
Yeah.
Anytime in the first 30 days, you want a refund, you can have a refund, right? But then you're not in the course anymore. So that's what you lose out on.
Wait, so if I'm day 89, I exit, am I getting money back? What am I
So
getting? What's the
for online course guy, like for the course, so it's called the 90-day exit clause. So most people are paying month to month throughout the year. And so if after 3 months, basically you've paid for 3 months, you've been inside the program 3 months. If you don't want to stick around for the remaining 9 months, you don't want to keep paying for it and stick around. You decide, okay, I've experienced for 3 months. I don't want to be a part of this anymore. You can exit without being on the hook for the remaining 9 months.
Got it. Oh, that's great. That makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense.
that works well. I
I
actually implemented that because I joined a year-long business coaching program a few years ago, and that they had that, and that's what put me over the edge to join, because it's like, okay, a year is such a long time to commit to something, but if I am in it for 3 months, I'm not. I can get out once I've experienced it, and I did end up staying in that one for a year, but I don't know that I would have signed up if they didn't have that 90-day exit clause.
Oh, I love that. That's super good. Yeah, because the closest thing I've done to that is I've told some people who are on the fence, I've said, why don't you show up for week one, risk free, like literally be in there. You don't have to like talk, like be in groups and such. If you don't like that, then just get out and no harm, no foul. But 90, well, my whole thing's 90 days. So obviously I would change
Yeah.
the dates on that, but like that feels really good.
Have you had a problem filling all the spots of the cohort?
No. Um, or let's rephrase. The evidence is that I have not had a problem. Mentally, I have lost a lot of sleep and, have had moments of like, oh my gosh, I lost touch with this person and I should have had her make a deposit. And like, Mike, why did you do that? But yeah, like the actual evidence, the empirical, what we can prove is that it fills every time.
That's great. We spent a lot of time talking about fulfillment, like what happens inside the program. Let's talk a little bit about marketing. What are you doing anything actively these days? Content marketing. I mean, you said no YouTube, like podcasts. What are you doing to grow your brand, grow your audience these days?
Yeah, I'm trying to go on as many podcasts as I can. I have a great idea for a YouTube channel and I just need to clear up the time to actually do it. Easier to say than to do, as we both know. Yeah, it's mostly podcasts, and I go to in-person events, which is tricky. I mean, I have two young kids, so I don't want to go to too many of those, but I try to strategically go to events, particularly if I know one of the speakers. There are a couple different conferences where I'm the speaking coach for the conference, and that one's always like a pretty smooth entrance for me because you just saw this person on stage who was awesome, and now you go talk to that person and she says, hey, you got to talk to Mike, he's over there. That's pretty good. But yeah, those are the things I do.
Big's your email list?
Not that big. It's like 3,000 people.
Safe to say this is like multiple six figures a year business, probably.
Yeah,
Easily from a 3,000 person email list.
yeah.
It's pretty incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there are days where I like take a step back and I'm like, gosh, how is this working? I feel really blessed with it. I mean, my background lends itself to it though. Like, I flew all over the world that's a little dramatic. I flew all over the US and Europe for 8 years and went to different companies teaching them about public speaking. I used to work for a company doing that. And I mean, the first 6 months were the classic imposter syndrome, kept waiting for people to know, like, oh, he doesn't have a corporate background. I distinctly remember the first workshop I ever did was for Levi's and Fisherman's Wharf. I remember walking in there thinking, like, this is the most important thing I will ever do in my life. And the whole time just waiting for someone to say, like, he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know what that acronym, he doesn't know what a KPI is. Like, I remember like having these thoughts. Never happened. So all of that to say, like, I wound up training something like 10,000 people to go through that. So I took that. I had a natural teaching background, as we mentioned. That's what I always wanted to do. Like, it's a really good fit. So from a marketing perspective, yeah, pretty incredible. I mean, 3,000 people is not like a super big list. I mean, I'll take it, but it's not a super big list. I don't send out that many marketing emails. I don't promote on social media. So, I mean, those things are all pretty amazing. Yeah. But I also I think sometimes when we have strategy conversations, we forget how important talent is, right? Like, I'm pretty good at it. Vocationally, I feel like this is what I'm meant to do. And I think that really matters.
What you said was when we have strategy conversations, we don't talk about talent, meaning how good you are at your niche. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, like all these conversations, like blog posts, emails, uh, Twitter links. Here's how to do XYZ. Great. Also, if you're not like really good at what you do, then a lot of this strategy works short term and not long term because ultimately that's what people are buying.
That's fair. Yeah.
At least with me, that's what people are buying.
I didn't realize you were doing something similar like for a company before. So like what was that decision like to go off on your own?
Oh man. So I think when people like saw what I was doing, they probably thought I made $500,000 a year or something because it was like one week I'd be in Chicago and the next week I was in London. I would go to London for 72 hours flying in those awesome like um what are those called? The lay down seats or whatever.
First class?
Uh yeah, the first class, but you know, you like those first class seats, like you don't want the plane to land. You're like,
Yeah.
no, no, more ice
Yeah.
cream. Seat I would never pay for myself. I Yeah, I did that for a while and it was the greatest job I could have. To work for somebody else is the greatest job I could have. By probably year 3, I knew that from a sheer development standpoint, I should be working for myself. I was taking one-on-one clients on the side, and that was what was most rewarding for me. It's where I'm trying to figure out how to say this without disparaging corporate, but when I would go do an 8-hour workshop for a corporation, I felt like much of my effort, like what I was really doing, I was sharing information. I was also convincing people to try something that was hard. And then when I was working one on one with people, I worked with James Clear before he was like James Clear, right? Like I always tell people that, like it was lowercase James Clear, and now he's like uppercase, like everybody knows who he is. James, and not just James, but like my one on one clients, they just ate it up. They were so excited to learn how to make a point more efficiently or to take longer on a story because the story we needed to dwell more with the story. So I had this corporate job. I was taking one-on-one clients for, I'm guessing, the last 5 years of that. It was a pretty smooth exit for me. At the time, there was a lot of advice going around that was basically like, just quit your corporate job, man. Like the money will follow. And I'm really, I'm really glad I didn't do that. I would have been so freaked out. Um, I quit my corporate job and I didn't have an email following, but I had a number of people that I'd done work for that referred work my way. And so I never had like a first year where I made like $27 or something, So, uh, my first year, okay, so my first year was 2019. I worked until May. Like I was a corporate employee until May. My son was born in June, and and I basically didn't work in June. So from July through the end of the year, I think I made like I remember looking at the numbers at the end of the year. And by the way, when I say looking at the numbers, I mean like an Excel spreadsheet that had 2 columns, like person's name and what they paid me. And I think it was 84,000 the last 6 months of that year. I remember thinking like, I guess I can do this. And that was all one-on-one work. Ever since I started doing courses, it's just been a lot better.
Nice. Amazing. There's a lot of people listening to this that haven't gotten started, haven't really gotten any traction yet, but are talented at something, teaching something. You use that word talent. What advice would you have for somebody that's at the beginning stages on how to get started with an information based online business like this?
Yeah, I would certainly in however you brainstorm, I would certainly brainstorm what the information looks like. I would also brainstorm what the emotional benefit looks like. So what's exciting about it? What's entertaining about it? If you don't know, figure out how you can make it entertaining. A lot of times that boils down to like sharing stories of people that you've worked with. I mean, that is a real starting point. Similar to a speech itself, you are going to be tempted to share more than you actually need to share. So a question that I found helpful to ask myself is, if I were being paid on results, what would this course look like? Because that's different from what's everything I know. And nobody would articulate it that way, but most of us default to, how can I teach everything I know? So what would it look like if you're getting paid based on results? And
Hey,
then
I mean, that's
I guess a
hold on,
couple
hold
of,
on. Let's not glance over that. That's brilliant, Mike. Did you come up with that yourself?
I don't know where I came. No, like it was influenced by someone. Like a lot of things on the internet, it's like I must have read something, because one day it just hit me. I was like, hold on, if I were doing this based on results, what would I do differently? And it was like immediately clear. It'd be sharing less stuff. It'd be sharing more about like, here are the traps that you will probably fall into, or here are the traps you might fall into. And here's how we could structure this differently. And it changed the way that I recorded the course.
What from a mindset perspective, I mean, that sounds like a huge shift, but before you think of it that way, how do you think you were thinking about it? You're designing a course based on what instead of results?
Yeah, I was designing a course as if I was a college professor, and the only thing that mattered is if I shared the lecture.
Big difference.
Big difference. I think I was pretty good at making the lecture entertaining, but it wasn't. It's just a big difference between that and being in the mindset of someone who's actually in the virtual room, who's saying, "Okay, how do I make this into a great speech?"
Cool. All right, you can proceed now. I just like I want that was brilliant.
Yeah. Well, actually, let me add one other thing to that. So one of the decisions I made with that is, and this is another thing a business coach would tell me not to do, I record a new course for every cohort. So it's not brand new. It's not like I'm blowing it up and starting from scratch. But I record a course and I will just say in the middle of it. So I'll like walk through a concept and I'll just say in the middle of it, like, uh, so I'll illustrate the concept and then I'll say, like, let's use Rose as an example. Rose is someone in the cohort. Let's use Rose as an example. Rose is talking about this. Here are some ways that Rose can use it. And that customization has helped people quite a bit. And I think a lot of times the ideas that we have in our head that are actually pretty abstract, we think are crystal clear. Being able to illustrate it with an example is always a good idea, and particularly if it's an example of someone that everybody in the cohort knows already. So I don't know that I would say everybody should be doing that or anything, but it is an option. And every time I've done Speech Club, people have talked about that.
Amazing.
To your point, like kind of like the point you made with the loom, they know that it's really me recording it and I'm like really putting thought into it. And then I also don't worry about making it perfect. Like I don't know, it's kind of like this interview. Like sometimes I'll stumble and I'll just be like, oh, sorry, what I meant was blah, blah, blah.
What would you do? Like, what would you do from a marketing perspective if you're starting from scratch to get your name and brand out there?
Yeah. Podcasts are a great spot. I think this depends a little bit on what your topic is. If you could get in at a company, I'd kind of forgotten about this until now. Actually, the first version of Speech Club was not called Speech Club, but there was a company that I'm trying to think of how this even came to be. I don't remember how it came to be exactly, but I knew someone who worked at this company and he just recognized that a lot of their job was public speaking. And he's like, some of these people really struggle with it. So it's been too long for me to know exactly how it came to be, but we did a group coach that was just for those people and the company covered it. So it wasn't individual contributors. And that gave me a lot of data as to what was working and what wasn't working. And also, I mean, it just let me get my reps at the beginning. So I guess to answer the question more directly, don't be afraid to try to find a company or an organization that could sponsor like 5 or 6 people or maybe 10 people, whatever that number is, and then just discount it for them. I think that could be a really good way to go. I've never been great at asking for referrals. Do you have advice? So my advice would be ask for referrals, and I don't actually do it that well. Have you seen anybody who's done that particularly well at the end of a course?
Well, I think it helps to incentivize people. That's the big thing, because I mean, if it's amazing and they got results, of course they'll be happy to tell other people. But it's even better if they get incentivized, particularly financially. So what I like to do is offer for a referral, they can either get like 2 months free in my program or like 1 month's payment back to them, like financially directly back to them. So that seems to work. I learned that from somebody else. But like if you don't have a program that makes sense to like give an extra 2 months to, like yours doesn't sound like it would work like that, you could certainly you could offer a financial incentive when somebody is referred. That's one of the questions we have on our application is there anybody we can thank for referring you to us? You know?
That's good. Okay, one of the things I've wondered about, so it's somewhat arbitrary that I make it 90 days. I just feel like that's a good amount of time. You can put a course or you can put a speech together in that time with some urgency, but it's not complete urgency. Did you ever have a version that was less than a year?
Yeah, I had a 90 day.
You did?
Yeah, I had a 90 day for helping people with courses, and it just wasn't enough time for most people. So I went with a year program. And then like some people stay beyond a year. I have, the first guy that ever signed up for my program, Hugo, he's been on my podcast. He's well into his 3rd year in the program. He's still with me.
Wow, 3 years in the program. That's amazing. So are there people who finish in like 90 days and then they've got 9 more months to keep attending if they want to?
Yeah, so it's like the way mine's structured is a little different than yours. It's not cohort based necessarily, and it's not so like I host office hours every couple of weeks for people to show up and ask questions, and then we have a team of coaches in specialized areas. So like we have a copywriter. So like if you want to let's say you built everything and you launched, there's always things you can make better, right? So you still get support from our copywriter, you still get support from our social media person to just make everything better and better and try to scale up more and more and help more and more people. So there's always ways we can help you. And then like you, we do have a next level program as well. So that's actually where Hugo is in our next level program and not our beginner program anymore.
Got it. Okay. All right. That's good. I've just toyed with the idea. I feel like a year would be really fun. I think on the other end of it is where I'm a little like, yeah, but most people don't. Most people have a speech in mind that's like less than a year away. Like that's where I always get a little stuck. So that's where
exactly. And you're helping people put together like their flagship speech, probably, I would say, right? Whereas I'm helping people, like there's a lot. I'm not trying to discredit yours in any way, but like for setting up an online course business, I'm not just teaching people to put together a course at all. Like that's just one small component. We got to do the marketing, we got to do the funnel, we got to do the offer, we got to build all the tech, we got to, get testimonials, do pilot programs, beta launches. There's just so much, and it's so hard to do it in 90 days.
Yeah, right. Yeah. All right, got it. Noted. And we're still in the advice question. What was the last thing?
That was the last official question I asked you. Yeah, I think I have one more question for you. So if you want to hang out here for a little bit longer, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I mean, the other thing I would say with advice is charge more than you think you should charge. Now, I'm not saying $10,000 for 90 days right off the bat. But most people, like you need money right away. And if you're starting from scratch, you probably really need money. And most people show up small, and it's like 10 weeks, $49. Charge more than you think you need to. If you're just starting out, you probably have the gift of time, of bandwidth, of not being asked to do not being pulled in a million different directions, at least not from your business. So if you're sitting there, you're like, gosh, I don't know, man, that's a lot of money. I was gonna do 49. Like, think of what else you could offer that would just make it a slam dunk, and you would feel better about charging the amount that you're charging. But you should charge more than you think you should.
Good advice too. Mike, last question for you. You got a lot of books behind you. Which one is like your favorite, most impactful? There's one you could share with this audience. What would it be?
I used to have a whole shelf that was just people I'd worked with one-on-one, and it was the best. But my wife told me it didn't look good color coordinated. Like, they didn't go together. So, one book.
Ladies and gentlemen listening on the podcast, he is looking behind us, right now.
Yeah, I'm looking. I think the business book, the communication book that has helped me the most is a book called Made to Stick from Chip and Dan Heath. One's amazing. If you are
real quick,
in the corporate,
I'm familiar with that book. I've never read it though. Like, why is it so amazing?
Honestly, I read that book more than a decade ago, and in some way, most of the feedback I'm giving people is tied to that book. So that book is about how to make ideas stickier. And there are, I think it's either 6 or 7 different things. They analyzed all these different marketing campaigns and speeches and all these things. And they found there were like 6 or 7 different things that mattered. And that was it. So read that book, digest it. That will help your communication a ton. So that one's up there. I love the book Captivate by Vanessa Van Edwards. I found myself furiously taking notes on how to connect with people personally. And then for a non-business book, what is it called? The new one by Mike Birbiglia. It's about him becoming a dad. I'd always resisted Mike Birbiglia. So people, if you're listening, if you can't tell, like, I'm a little bit weird, quirky, whatever word you want to attach to it. I'd always had people tell me, like, dude, you're like Mike Birbiglia, blah, blah, blah. And so naturally, I never wanted to like watch his stand-up or read anything of his. I forget why I eventually picked up that book, but it felt like the journey to becoming a dad that I had undergone, right down to just feeling like an intern at times. And his like, just like, yeah, go fetch coffee. Like, go do this. I'm like, what am I doing? This is me being a dad. I just think it's really well done. So I don't know, man. You're asking me to choose all these books from different clients and such, but those are a few that's
right on. Mike, it's been a pleasure, man. Great to get to know you a little bit. Thanks for sharing the value here today. I'm sure the audience is going to get a lot out of it. So thank you so much.
Hey, my pleasure, friend. Thanks for having me on.
And that's a wrap on today's conversation for the podcast. It was such a pleasure to get to know Mike a little bit. And I just love the raw and real information he gave us about his business. For the show notes and links from today's episode, head to oc.show/271. And if you're ready to build your own successful online course business, check out our coaching program at oc.show/Genesis. Thanks again for listening, and don't forget to take action on what you've heard here today. I'm rooting for you.